When people talk about PlayStation exclusives, they bring up The Last of Us, God of War, or Uncharted, but rarely ever do they talk about Infamous Second Son. I find it so interesting that large creators like Jacksepticeye, the Rad Brad, or even PewDiePie could play it, and there are still people that have never heard of the game before. At one point, this game was the showcase for the PS4, with high reviews and gameplay that displays modern console functions like using the touchpad or motion detection on the controller. So how did a game that sold well, reviewed well, and helped define an era get forgotten? This is the forgotten legacy of Infamous Second Son. At launch, very few games actually looked extremely next-gen. Those very few were benchmarks for games coming out to this day or more modern consoles like the PS5 or the Xbox Series. I remember when the trailer launched for the PS4, I was very young at the time and I wasn't even in school yet. I remember some of the gameplay that was being displayed on the screen, but there was only a few games that actually caught my eye. Infamous being one of those games. This game helped introduce a more dynamic lighting throughout the city of Seattle that was very unfamiliar compared to the way people were expecting it to be. People were still looking at the PS3 as more of the blueprints when it came to the actual gameplay standpoint and didn't expect anything life-changing. Infamous helped people adjust the expectations of the game. This game didn't do this through being a realistic simulator, but by stretching the truth and reinventing the visuals of the game. For example, the most iconic power in the game, which is neon, lit up so much of the game, which displayed the lack of subtlety that the particle effects had. Smoke dispersed naturally, neon left trails, and the glitchy video abilities felt real in a way. Sucker Punch made the statement that they weren't gonna make their presence felt. But Rome wasn't built in one day. Mistakes had to be made in order to create a masterpiece. It's important to understand the position Sucker Punch was in during early development. Infamous Second Son wasn't just a new entry, but it was being built alongside the PS4 itself, which no matter which way you put it, had its effects on production. The studio was learning unfamiliar hardware and new expectations all under the pressure of the launch window for the new console. That meant decisions had to favor accessibility and visual impact over long-term depth. Some of the mechanics were simplified, and many powers were designed around what the PS4 would be able to showcase best, through the lighting, particles, and spectacle. Sucker Punch had to make very calculated choices in order for this game to release. Putting these constraints doesn't take away the game's flaws, but it helps explain why Second Son feels more like a moment in time than a defining moment in history. What often is overlooked is that Infamous Second Son actually told a very grounded story. At its core, it's not just about saving the city of Seattle from the DUP threat, but it's about being labeled dangerous before being understood, which is an issue that goes on in the world today, which can be defined especially after recent cases like in 2020 with the BLM movement going on about George Floyd's death. This game can serve as a voice for people that are victims of judgment without people understanding the meaning or emotions behind another human being, which leads to Delsin's journey. His story reflects fear, control, and authority, themes that feel especially relevant in a post-9/11 surveillance-heavy world. The DUP isn't presented as a cartoonishly evil in this game. They're organized, justified, and convinced that they're protecting the public, which makes the conflict feel real. Including conflicts today like the ICE protests going on around America right now because of some of the violence that's being induced onto people, especially in Minneapolis. These institutions have grounded reasons for their acts but aren't ever being justified. The karma system reinforces this idea well. Every choice pushes Delsin toward being either feared or trusted, reminding the player that power isn't judged by intent, but that is being judged by the outcome. Second Son may not tell the deepest story in the series, but it tells a focused one, and that restraint is part of what makes it effective. Another reason Second Son has endured quietly is how easy it is to return to. The game doesn't demand a huge time commitment like modern masterpieces like God of War, Elden Ring, Red Dead Redemption 2, or even Ghost of Tsushima. You can jump in, go through the city of Seattle, run up walls, and feel the power that Delsin has within minutes. Traversal's smooth, fast, and detailed. Moving through the city feels less like a travel, but a showcase of the changes they made from older games. The atmosphere makes it even more memorable. Rain-soaked streets, glowing neon signs, and constantly shifting light gives Seattle a personality that holds up to this day. It's a world that feels alive, even when you're not chasing objectives. Sometimes a game's legacy isn't measured by how often it's discussed, but by how often people quietly return to it, exploring the city and powers all over again. Before I wrap up, I want to share a personal story. My brothers were the ones that really got me into video games, my oldest brother especially. He's the reason why I fell in love with the idea of exploring through digital media and experiencing stories in a way I could never do just by reading or watching. Out of all of the games that me and my brother played, Infamous Second Son stands out as my favorite. Not just for the powers, the city, or even the story, even if it does still hold a deep connection to my heart, but because it's the one we experienced together. There's a moment in the game that always hits me. At the end of the Good Karma playthrough, Delson says to his brother,
I love you, brother. I'm sure gonna miss you.
every time I hear that line, I think of my own brother, and how games like this are more than just entertainment, but there are connections and memories that stick with you. Infamous Second Son isn't just a forgotten legacy of the PS4. It's a part of my story, a reminder why I fell in love with video games, and why I'll always remember the people I shared them with.